So our objectives for today, like I explained a while ago, includes the following. One, we are going to create database using MySQL, create table. Let's see how to create tables. We'll see how to insert records into the table. The record is also called a row. Then I'll introduce you to my SQL Workbench. I will just log into Workbench. I'm not going to use Workbench today, but I'll just show you the environment, okay? Yeah, so as we get along, after a while, we'll start using Workbench. Okay, but I want you to be familiar with the core MySQL first, the MySQL console itself, before we move on to Workbench, which is actually designed to make using MySQL easier and more convenient. Okay, but usually we don't want to start from there. We want to start from the real thing first before we look at the easier and more user-friendly tools. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our first database. So we all already know how to log into MySQL. Please, 1 minute, please. Okay, so I said we are going to look at how to create a database in MySQL. Now, before you create a database, the first thing you want to do is you have to make up your mind. Rather, you have to choose a name, decide on what to call the database. Okay, decide on what you want to call the database. Okay, and make sure that the database name is in line with the purpose of the database. Okay, for example, you want to create database for staff record. You may decide to call the database staff or something like that. Okay, so now how do I create a database? I just simply say create database. Now, before I create the database, let me show you something. Show databases. You can see databases here now, right? So I want to create a database called staff. And you can see that there is no database here that is called staff. Okay. So after creating it, you recognize the fact that a new database has joined the list. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to create a new one now. Okay. So create database. Then the name of the database, staff. Okay, something just as simple as, sorry, I didn't end it properly. Create database staff, then you end it with a semicolon, okay? This semicolon, that's after the staff, you put it. But since I didn't put it, by showing this symbol, it's telling me that this statement is not complete. So you can still type it. So I can still add it, it works, right? So it has created a database called the staff. So if I want to see that database now, I do show databases again. Okay. Is it there? Can you see it?
Yes, sir. It's there.
The database.
Yes, sir, it's there.
The staff database is there, right? So now, let's see. Now, I told you that if you create a database, the next thing you want to do is create a table or tables inside that database. So how do you create a table in a database? Please, what screen are you seeing now? Are you seeing you are seeing all my, what can you see? You can see the objectives,
My
right?
mhm.
Okay, you are seeing everything on the screen. Okay,
Yes, everything. Yes, everything is clear.
everything is showing. Okay. So let me show you this. Just look at it. Okay. We want to create a table. You see, we just created the, oh, sorry, this is another, this is, okay, this is different, but this is how you do it, okay? Create database, the name of the database, then create table, the name of the table. Then you have to define the columns within the table, okay? So for example, now I want to create that database for student. I'm going to say for staff, I'm going to say, sorry, I want to create the table. I'm going to say create table. Then I give the name of the table, which is staff. Okay, assuming I want to call it payroll, the table called payroll. Okay. For example, then within payroll, I have to define each of the columns. Okay, so now you tell me what columns you expect to be in the payroll table. What columns do you expect there? Okay, let's say, for example, you have something like staff ID. Staff ID. Okay.
So sorry, are you typing?
Yes. Can you see anything?
It's not. It's not displaying. I'm not seeing anything.
No,
It
we are not
ends in
seeing it.
Okay, you guys can't
yes.
see anything.
Not
No,
at
no.
all.
Oh, that's why I was asking just now. Okay, no problem. No problem then. Okay. Okay, no problem. Let me type. Let me just do it here so you can see what I'm talking about. But you can see this screen, this black one, right? Can you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have created the table called staff, right? Now, if we want to use that table, if we want to connect to the table and use it, okay, we have to say use staff. Use staff. Whenever you type a command in MySQL, you end with semicolon. Use staff. So by doing that, what have I done? I have now connected to the database. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is going to affect that database. For example, if I create a table now, it will create it inside the staff database because I have said I want to use the staff database. In other words, connect to the staff database or open the staff database. Okay? Is that right? Now that I'm in staff database, let me say show tables. What is it saying? What did it say, please?
It's empty.
The database is empty, which there's no table in the database yet, right? So now we are trying to create a table inside this database, right? Now, when creating a table, what do? You have to specify the columns of that table. The columns that make up that table. You have to define them. Okay? The columns of the table, like I explained to you guys in the last class. So you are going to say create table. What did you say the table should be called? Payroll. So I was asking you, what column do you expect to be in the payroll table? What column do you expect? Let's say staff ID.
Staff name as well.
Yes. Staff ID. Let's assume that is an integer. And that cannot be null, which means it cannot be empty. For every staff information you enter, it's compulsory. You must, whenever you are creating a row, you must include a staff ID. That's what the not null means, okay? Int means that staff ID is expected to be an integer, a whole number, not a number with decimal points, okay? The next, we have surname. Let's say we have surname. Surname, that one is varchar. This varchar means it's a character, right? Text is text, string. You could type, you know, the form that name takes now, you could type letters and all that. Okay. That 45 means that it can take up to 45 characters. It cannot be longer than, we are reserving 45. We are assuming that nobody's name will be longer, surname will be longer than that. Okay. But if you think you can have names longer than that, you can make it 50. Okay. Also, the surname is compulsory, so it's not null, comma. Okay. After every column definition like this, it's always a comma. Then first name. First name. Don't actually have to write it in this form, but later I will tell you more about all this. So first name, what do you expect that to be? What do you expect it to be? What data type? Varchar, right? Are we on the same page? Are you guys following? Not null. Okay. Wow. Made a mistake. I mistakenly pressed semicolon there. That's why it's doing this now. So no problem. Let me bring it back. Staff ID, surname. Here, I type semicolon here instead of what? Comma. I told you when at the end of a column definition is comma, not semicolon. Okay. What else do you think should be here? What else should be here?
Amount.
Amounts. Amount. What will that amount? Before we get to amounts.
Staff number.
Okay, staff number, that's one I call staff ID.
Okay.
So I want you guys to think and suggest for me.
Okay, you can say sex of the staff. Is it male or female?
Yes. Yeah. So what data type do you think that should be? Okay, let's say okay, so let's say okay, let's say the sex that should be what? You can use varchar, but let's use car, what they call car. Okay. Car is for fixed length something. Okay. One. That one is what? M or F. Okay. M of F, not null. Then phone. I want to put something that does not include this not null so that you know that the not null is actually not compulsory. So can you suggest what do you think, what kind of information do you think one can use that will not involve, that will not be not null? What about email? Assuming we have email. Email, um, what kind of data type do you think this will be? It's also a varchar. This first one I'm giving you, I hope it's not too complex for a start. Okay. How long can email be? Let's use 45 as well. Okay. Shit. Ah, this is why Workbench is very good. Workbench makes life easier. Okay.
So, can I ask a question?
Please do.
The create table payroll. After that, symbol, how did you bring it out? I'm trying to type it.
Creatable hero.
Yeah, after
Okay,
that.
that's just bracket open.
Okay, brackets open. Okay.
Yes, bracket open. Whenever you type a command, it tells you query okay. That what means is that what you have typed is correct. Okay. Exactly. So now I want to check that database if the table is actually there. Can someone tell me what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Hmm? Are we still there? Okay, so if I say show tables, it's not telling me tables in staff. It's not telling me that there's a table there now, which is called what? Payroll. There's not a table called payroll in staff. Okay, so now let's get some information into that table. Make sure you are following what I'm doing, because I'm going to give you an exercise. And of course, I will give you assignments. So what we have done now, we have created a database, we have created a table. So now I want to get some information into the table. To do that, use insert. Use insert command. Okay. Insert into, what's the name of the table? Payroll. Values. What values are you inserting into the table? What are the values? You have to put it in this order. Okay. The staff ID, assuming our staff ID is 1001 or whatever it is, comma. What's the next? Surname. Assuming surname is Ojo. Assuming surname is Ojo. I don't like that Ojo like that. Ojo. What's the next? Comma. You must follow this syntax. So where I put comma, this comma is very important. You have to separate the different columns, data for the different columns with comma. The next is first name. Assuming first name is Festus. Festus. What's the next? The sex, assuming that is male. Oh, something is missing there, comma. What next? Email. Assuming the email is f dot ojo at gmail.com. What's left? Basic. Assuming that one is 20,000. Allowances. Assuming that one is assuming that one is 85,000. So what I've done now is I have inserted one row into that database, just one. Okay. Inserted one row into the database, into the table, right? The table is in the database. This row is in that table, but the table is in the database. Okay. So now, after doing this, to see if it's actually there, you do a select. This is how to query the table. What we are doing now is that we are querying the table. We are asking the database if this record actually, no, we are asking the database to show us what's inside the table. So to do that, now I don't have to use all this capital, or whether it's capital letter or small letter, it will work anyway. But I'm just trying to show you a better way of doing these things. Select star. That star means all the rows. From what? What's the name of our table? Payroll. So when I do this, don't forget to end all your commands with semicolon. So it's now showing me what's in that table. Okay, showing me what's in the table. So I can add more. Let's say I'm adding another one. This person's name, let's change the name to Oko Benson. Let's use a lady this time. Let's call it Joy. Female. Joy dot Oko at gmail.com or yahoo.com. Assuming this one's salary this time is 45,950. Okay, so I've added another row. So how do I see what is inside? Can you remember? Let's see if that row has actually been added to the table. Select all. This star means all the rows. Okay, as we get on our hotel, we will look at various ways of selecting the items from the table. But this is just an introductory class to show us the basics, okay? Select all from, what follows from is always the name of the table. How do you end the command? What am I supposed to type to end it? Semicolon. Enter. So how many rows do we have in the table now? How many rows are in the table now? How many? How many rows are in the table now?
It's 2 rows.
2 rows. Okay. But I hope we are all following. It's what we have done thus far. I hope everything is clear. We've not done anything
So,
complex.
so it's the first time. It's the first time we are seeing this kind of thing. So
Okay.
it's gonna, it's not
I
gonna
know,
be easy like that.
I know you guys are used to all those Excel, Words, all those kind of apps, right? That's why I told you
Yeah.
that that there is an environment where you can do these same things that are not as dry as this, okay? Don't bother about that. And another thing you should know is some of these things we are doing as a data analyst, you will not be doing some of them, right? The main thing you do is querying, which is not hard. Okay, but it's good for you to learn MySQL thoroughly. Okay, when you learn it very well, you'll be confident. Because when you attend interviews, for example, they want you to demonstrate that you really have deep understanding. That's why we are doing some of these things. So I understand, no problem. But please, if we have any questions, we have any difficulties, always let me know. Okay. So what we have looked at so far, let's try to summarize. Let me just do a little recap so that let's use this environment to do that. Can you see what screen can you see now? Notepad. Are you seeing my notepad screen?
Yes, yeah, we are seeing the notepad.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what we have done so far now, one, we've seen how to open MySQL or load MySQL. We've seen that. Okay. Then we also saw how to create a database. We saw how to create a database. We saw how to create a table. And then we saw how to insert rows into a table. Insert records into a table. And then we saw how to query the table. Query the table, okay? Or the database, okay? So this is what we have seen so far. So I will just do a little recap. We'll look at all these commands again in that MySQL environment.